All right, guys, so now we want to work on the edit profile components. So we're going to go into components and we're going to create a new folder called edit-profile. And we'll create a file called edit-profile.js. Okay, Pascal case, capital E, capital P. And let's copy everything from create profile. Okay, so we want to grab everything from here and paste that in edit profile. All right, let's go to the top here. Now, remember our back end where we have a route. It's the post to API/profile. That's used to create a profile and to update a profile. Remember that. So we're actually going to use the same create profile action. Now, in addition to that, we're going to need to get the current user's profile. So let's call get current profile, which we already created. And then one of the biggest differences here, we're gonna keep all this stuff the same, all these input groups, all the text groups and all that. That's all going to be the same. But we do want to call, when we enter this page or this component, we want to call the get current profile. So we're going to add the lifecycle method component did mount, which will run as soon as the component mounts. And then we're going to call this .props.get current profile. All right, now in order to use that, we have to go down to the bottom here and add that in. We need to add that in here. So get current profile. We'll also add it to our prop types, which we also need to add create profile. So create profile, prop types.func is required, and then we'll do get current profile func is required. Okay. Let's see. So now if I save this, let's actually connect this to our router now. So we'll go to app.js. There's still some other stuff we need to do in here, but let's actually make it so we can access the page. We'll go to our app.js and let's copy this with the switch. And then it's going to be a private route. It's going to be /edit/profile. And it's going to call the component edit profile, which we need to bring in. So let's go up here and bring it in. Edit profile. Edit profile. All right, so now let's go ahead and go back to our browser, to our dashboard, and hit edit profile. Now we want to change this text for one thing. Yeah, so let's do that. Let's go back to edit profile.js, and up at the top, or not the very top, but in the return, let's change this to edit profile. And we'll just get rid of this paragraph here. Okay. Now, when we get that profile data from the action we called, okay, so when we get it from this right here, get current profile, it's going to come in through the profile state, which we already have hooked up right here. We're mapping it to props, so we'll have this .props.profile. And we want to go into component will receive props, and we want to check to see if that profile has come in from the state. Because what we want to do is fill the component state values, which are these here, the fields, with those values, okay? So we're going to say if next props dot profile, so that's the actual profile state, and then we want the profile object that's inside of the state. So if that, then I'm going to just set the variable profile to next props dot profile dot profile. Okay, now there's some things we need to do here. If, like, let's say the user doesn't have a website filled in their profile, we need to actually check that, and if it's not, we need to make it an empty string. Okay, so we're going to need to use our isEmpty function, which has been very handy. So let's bring that in. We're going to say import isEmpty. And just to mention again, you don't have to create a custom function. You could use something like Lodash. Let's do dot dot slash validation slash isEmpty. Okay, so we brought that in. Now back down in the component, we'll receive props, because remember, this will run when we get the profile from the state. Okay, and before we do anything, remember we have the skills. We have that skills array. We actually want to change that back into a comma separated value string so we can have it display in the edit profile page. So let's say const, whoops, I'm just going to put a comment here. Let's say bring skills array back to comma separated values. So we'll say const skills CSV equals, and now we have access to this profile dot whatever we want skills, and then we can just use the join to join it back into a string by commas. Okay, so it'll take the array and it'll turn it into a string and separate each value with a comma. All right, once we do that, we want to do what I said by checking to see if it exists or if it's empty. If it is, then we want it to be an empty string. So we'll say if profile field doesn't exist, add or make empty string. Okay, and we have to do this for all the fields, which is kind of a pain, but it has to be done. So we're going to say profile.company equals if it's not isEmpty, profile.company, and we're going to use a ternary here. So we'll say if it is not isEmpty. So basically, if it's there, then we're going to use it, profile.company. Else, then we want it to be an empty string. Okay? So we want to do this with all of our fields. So I'm going to just go ahead and paste a couple things in here. And you can just copy it. So we're doing the same with the website, same with the location, the GitHub username, the profile bio, it's all the same. Now with the social, this is going to be a little different because social is its own object with the Twitter value, the Twitter, the Facebook, and all that. So we want to say profile dot social equals not isEmpty. And then in here we're going to say profile dot social, use a ternary operator, profile dot social. Now if this doesn't exist, we just want it to be an empty object, not an empty string, because profile social is an object. And then we need to do each one individually, so I'm just going to paste these in real quick. So we have profile.twitter equals not isEmpty, profile.social.twitter. Okay, be sure to include that, the social, and then it'll just be that if it exists. If not, then it'll be an empty string. Okay, same with the rest of them here. All right, now once we have all of this done, we want to set our component state values. So we'll go, let's see, what is this? This is, we still want to be in this if statement here, which ends right there. So now let's say set component fields state. So we'll say this dot set state, and we want all of our fields. So I'm just going to grab this and paste it in. Okay, so all of our fields. And now what should happen is it's going to fetch the profile because of this here when the component mounts or when the component loads, and then it'll come in through the profile state down here. Okay, so it'll get mapped to properties, so we'll be able to access it through our properties. Then component will receive props is going to run. We're going to check for the profile. We're going to set this variable to profile so we can access all the fields. We're going to turn the skills back into a string, the array into a string. Then we're going to check everything, and if it doesn't exist, we're going to make it into an empty string. All right, and then finally we're going to set the state of the values which should fill the forms or fill the forms. So let's save this. Okay, let's go back to edit profile, and there we go. Look at that. Everything that we have filled in for John Doe is now there, which is just basically just the required fields. That's all we filled in. So that looks like it's working perfectly. Let's see, I don't want to go there. Oh, you know, one thing we forgot to do is add a dashboard link. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So in navbar, we want to go to components, layout, navbar. And remember we have our auth links right here. We just want to add in a dashboard link. So I'm actually just going to copy one of these from the guest links, and we're going to put this right here. Actually, it needs to be in an LI, and this is just going to go to /dashboard just so we can get back to it easily. All right, so now we have a link that goes to the dashboard. Good. So if we go to edit profile, we can now go back to the dashboard, and you see the spinner. That's because it's fetching the current profile. All right, awesome. Now this should actually work because all we're doing when we submit, let's see, where are we? Edit profile, on submit is, where is it? Right here, on submit. All we're doing is getting everything in the form, and we're calling create profile again, just like we did from within the create profile component. And that's what we want to do because that calls the endpoint that will do both create and update our profile. We also have our errors coming in. Okay, we did that in the create profile, and we just copied that entire file, so those are coming in. So this should actually work. So let's say John wants to update his profile and add a company. So we'll say Edusoft, HTTP, edusoft.com. He wants to add a website, maybe a social network, so we'll add Twitter. And let's submit. And then if we go back to edit profile, you can see that those fields updated. If we go to look at our Twitter, that also updated. So we can now edit our profile. All right, guys, so we are definitely getting there. I think the next thing that we'll do is start to work on the add experience and add education. We want to add those forms, and of course we want to hit the endpoint so that we can add to the array, because all those really are, if we look in our profile, well, it's not going to show it because we don't have it, but well, that's the diff. If we look in our profile, it does show that it's just an empty, these are empty arrays, so we want to be able to fill those and then display them in the dashboard. So we'll start on that next.